Hi everyone, it's Chris Lillstrung from the News-Herald, and to go with a prep column I wrote debuting today on the Battle of Painesville and its current place in the area high school sports hierarchy, I wanted to share a few memories with you of growing up in Painesville, watching Harvey Riverside football, and a golden era of the battle there in the 1990s. The dichotomy in the 90s changed as the decade went along, to be sure. Riverside established the streak in 1993. It continues through the present day, but there were some really good games sprinkled in there in the 90s. 1992, the last time that Harvey beat Riverside, Rayshawn Olsen had a great game as Harvey went on to win there 18-13. But then the shift started to happen there in 93 and 94. That 94 game was really at the height of both programs' powers, so to speak. Harvey went into that Week 8 game against Riverside 7-0. Riverside was 6-1, both with great teams. In my opinion, growing up in Painesville as a youngster, and now for almost 20 years at the News-Herald covering high school football, I think that 1994 Harvey team was the best Harvey football team in the last 25 years. Some people might argue with me on that. That's fine, but I think top to bottom roster, that's as good as it's gotten in the last quarter century. Riverside comes in with Zach Mullins at tailback, and he goes off for almost 200 yards and a couple touchdowns. Riverside wins 24-14, spoils Harvey's undefeated season. Harvey goes on to go 8-2 that year, and it was their last 7+ win season to date. And the shift started to happen from there, and it became progressively more difficult for the Red Raiders to compete with the Beavers there. Riverside became the much larger school as time went along from an enrollment standpoint, and it just became harder and harder. And now, in this day and age in the Battle of Painesville, Riverside is obviously a firm favorite more times than not, especially having won 23 in a row against Harvey. I just hope, as I wrote in my column, that we can get back to what I knew and what we knew in the 90s and before that in the 80s, 70s, and 60s, with more of that give and take, where there's not as much assumption, where there's more of a mystery in who will win year in and year out in the Battle of Painesville. And I think that 1994 game was symbolic of how good the rivalry can be, and I hope for the youth of Painesville today and in the future we can get back to that play sooner rather than later.